Welcome back to in.sync, the podcast connecting business and spirituality. And this episode is about ego again. Yes, we really, really love it, as you might can tell. So I would recommend you going back to the first episode about ego, if you didn't listen to that yet, to get a fully understanding of what we are talking about. This episode specifically is about labels and the expectations that come with it, and why labeling yourself and others doesn't really get you anywhere. Yeah, that is it. Let's dive right into, right?
What do you mean by that, labels?
What are labels? That's such an excellent question, right? For me, it's kind of okay. Why labels in the first place, and what is it? It is for us as humans, I guess, an easy technique to have a better understanding of how the world works around you. So it makes it easy to jump to conclusions, aka making decisions, however you want to name it. And it's also easier to understand others, why they're doing things, and seeing patterns, right? That is my understanding of labels. So that could be, okay, she's an excellent leader. She is, I'm always going back into these bad words. She's a mother. She's career-oriented. She is Jewish. She is Austrian. She is living in Portugal. All those things can be labels, and way more, obviously. And it helps you to, just make things, I guess, easier, at least if you see it on a meta level.
And so to mentally put people into boxes so you know who to deal with, right?
Yes, and how to deal with them, and how to estimate their reactions and stuff like that.
And why do you think that's not good?
I mean, it says it already, because people are not labels. We are way more, right? Everyone is individual and will react in different situations in different ways. And the thing is, for me, I think why it's bad, especially, is because it causes, or it can cause, self-fulfilling prophecies, right? If we label a kid very early on as like dumb, or as disruptive or annoying, he or she does exactly what we expect of him or her. So that kind of can set the wrong path. And it's not only for kids, it's like also in adult life. And we talked about it when it comes to limiting belief, and it's very touchy on this subject as well. Just because people are telling you that the way you are, they label you into certain things, that you're a bad kid, or that you're like bad in school, that can actually literally make your belief system go in the wrong way, and then influence your adult life.
So I think it's, when you especially work with many people in like big organizations and stuff, for example, it's helpful to know, to categorize people a little bit, I guess. Exactly. This is your boss, maybe that's your intern, so it's kind of like, I think people generally need the structure to understand a bit who they talk to, but it is very dangerous for the reason.
Can I ask you the question in there? Because I think in the last episode about ego, you actually said that we should always show our true self and not having any filters or masks on it. So why is it then important if this is the boss or an intern?
True. I think, no, it's true. I think for most people, like, to mentally navigate, it's just how humans work. It's easier to put a label on someone because then they know, okay, this is our boss. I need to deliver something to his or her, to him or her. So I think for people to navigate through their lives, they find it easier. However, it's not always the best way of doing that, of course. And I find, especially what I noticed is in not so much in like startups, but in big corporates, is almost like, when some influential person says something about someone, like gives them a label, that can, like, everyone around it believes it, and whether it's true or not, they just believe it. I remember that's just human, like how humans work, and that is exactly where it can get tricky, because if it's correct, amazing, you've got a good reputation. But if it's not correct and it's based on one single experience, then it can really screw up your career and everything.
Of course. But there is another question coming to that, because according to that, the only goal in life, in a sense, to be successful, to get somewhere, would mean that we collect as many positive labels as possible. right? Because I don't want to be labeled bad. I don't want to be labeled dumb or lazy or whatever, or yeah, it doesn't matter. But I want to have these achieving labels on me. I want to be a high achiever, successful person, maybe spiritual person, friendly, like all those things. But is that the goal, that I just avoid all the negative ones and gain a lot of like positives?
Then that would be ego driven again, right? So if somebody, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel
No.
you feel.
No.
It looks like you had input. Then I think that this would be ego driven again, because if you want to just be called like all the good things, and then you're being driven by what other people talk about you and how other people perceive you, and you're always trying to please them instead of doing you.
But also you are like labeling yourself on that, because I also like to be labeled successful, and yes, it's also my ego and that comes with it. But for me, the problem is also the expectations that come for myself then, because if I'm successful, I want to keep this label, right? Like even the positive ones, if I'm friendly, if I'm what, doesn't matter which label, I want to keep it. And that's the problem of it. I'm attached to the label. That's my perception of it. So that's why I'm also trying to get rid of me having like all those highs from success in business, because I don't want to be just this person. I just want to be me. I just want to be happy and have a fulfilled life. And if I'm only chasing the success, and what is if like the next venture I'm doing or the company I'm building right now is not working, am I then still successful?
Yeah.
You know, so I'm like, there's the fear of losing it. And I think this is the same for people that have a lot of fame and money. You know, at some point they want to stay in there. They want to be still known that they are famous for the movies, songs, whatsoever. What happens if the next hit is not a hit anymore? You know, that you're losing the label that you had for yourself. That means then at some point, if you're attached to this label, to this like successful musician or whatever, that you're not worthy of it anymore, that you're failed, that everything that you're told or everyone or people thought about you is like wrong. So that's why the attachment, I think, to labels and the expectations come with, even though they are positive, are very dangerous in a sense.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right. Because then, yeah, if you,
if you're stripped off of it, what is left?
what's left then, right?
Yeah.
But what you said in in one of the earlier sessions on ego was that there's a way to redirect that ego feeling and the attachment to a certain state into like using that energy and putting it in the right directions. So it's almost like when you have that, okay, I'm successful, you might just use that and think, okay, what can I do with this? Is maybe it has my definition of success changed? I might still, I'm still successful, just in my own way, and not attaching it to what it used to be.
Yeah, and also, I mean, is it like, again, is it a goal to be successful? I mean, it's very tailored to that, but like for me, it's just about being happy the way I am and with my inner self. That's just for me the ultimate goal. And it doesn't matter if I'm living in a cottage house somewhere in, I don't know, the beach side, not doing anything, or selling acai bowls, which is highly likely working for me. Not having a huge company with like a huge impact, but I'm just happy. And I think that's the major goal. And with all the labels, especially in our like Western society, that's just the dangerous part of it, that you're then just, unhappy if this is going stripped away from you.
Yeah, true. And
but what I noticed for myself also, and I'm actually super happy when I realized that. So I told you, and I told also our listeners multiple times already, that I'm doing this yearly review, which is called the Year Compass, from an Hungarian company. So you can download it and then reflect on the year. It's just a tool that helps you reflecting. And within these exercises, every end of the year, you reflect on what was good this year, what not, who helped you achieve that, what was the best opportunities opening up for you. So a lot of different layers to like your story of this past year, so you can plan the next year ahead. And when I started that like 4-ish years ago, it was so career driven in there. Like literally all my highlights, besides being in Tel Aviv, was like some accomplishments that I had with my companies, and or like in a career, named this, named that, being published there, having an interview there, achieved this kind of customer success, and had this revenue. Like so many of those like things that I labeled myself, because I thought, okay, this is where I want to go. And over the years, it just declined so much in the thing. And when I'm sitting down at the end of the year recapping what happened, there were just what actually came to my mind first is always the moments with friends. I actually go to photos first to actually relive, okay, wow, this was the trip with my best friends, or this was the conversation I had, or this was this one night at the beach and stuff like that. So it's like completely shifted, which I'm super grateful for, because it obviously goes away from this career driven accomplishment sense that I had obviously a couple of years ago still very much.
Interesting, because I feel the same. I feel like this has also very much changed for me. So yeah, I mean, I don't do a formal review as you, but when I do reflect back on my year, and even when I set my objectives for the year, they are because I love setting like objectives and stuff, but they're really not you need to be featured here and do that. They are like, what are the experiences that I want to have this year? And and experiences are usually with other people, or sometimes also by yourself or so. But yeah, it's completely moved away from this is what I need to accomplish and this is the label and I want to be promoted and all of that and I want to be CEO and founder and it doesn't really matter, happens anyway, but that's not what I label myself with as well. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that has changed so much for you?
I think actually that is for me getting there at some point. I mean, I think I said it already, but one of my highlights was back in the days when I was with Startup Life, the acceleration program, and we were named one of the best acceleration programs in Europe. Plus, I won the Startup Hero Award, and that was the first acknowledgement of my work for the community. So in a sense, a bigger impact that I created. So I was like super proud, and me and my back then business partner, we were really celebrating that a lot. But this was the first step of actually seeing, okay, I'm on the right track, I'm achieving something. And I think once I got this approval for myself and also seeing that others are seeing that as well, it was then, it was just, okay, I managed, fine, I prove it. And now I can move on with my life. I can have different things. So I think, yes, once you have what helped for me was definitely understanding that I can do it, and then just moving on and not aiming higher, luckily. Yeah. So everything that came next was like, oh, that's dope. And again, as I said in the last episode, I'm really celebrating like the successes, but it's not who I am anymore. And it's not that I'm, pushing it in the sense of my ego trip anymore.
Yeah. Because you're basically saying you had to reach that label and get that label in order to realize it's not important. I recently listened to a podcast of Tom Billier, who is the founder of Quest Nutrition Bars. So these guys, they sold it for like a billion or so. And he said he had always heard that people always told him, once you become successful, once you have the money, you will realize this is not what makes you happy. And he said, but the fascinating thing I always found, like I knew that this is what he said. He said, I knew this. I knew that this is not going to make me happy, yet I had to go on that journey anyway to experience it myself. And makes you wonder, like, if you know all of this, if everyone keeps telling you, and you said it as well, now you had it, and then you're like, okay, so what? Like, why do people still think they have to tick that box?
I don't know, but I also want to just to make it clear, I never felt I need to tick that box. I never had it on my list somewhere that I get any reward for it, but it was just for me like a beautiful thing to see. And back then I was so like humbled and happy that I got that just as a recognition, even though it was never a goal, because especially if you're working in community management, it's not a goal to, you just want to have impact in a sense. But yeah, it definitely helps. I never chased it. That's one thing maybe. For me, it was just, I truly love building things and I truly love having an impact, and not any awards or something. But yeah, it helps to go through that experience yourself. And I think a lot of people are having this thing, especially when it comes to stars or whatever, like movie stars, like, okay, if I would be that like famous or rich, all my problems would vanish. I would be so happy because I can buy whatever I want and I would have this great house and, I have people cooking and working for me and cleaning for me, but it doesn't, it doesn't cause happiness in a sense. And that's also what a lot of movie stars and musicians told us or like showed us over the last years with a lot of misery coming to it.
Everyone says it, if you don't have your inner happiness right, if you don't know what you are doing on this planet, then no label is going to give it to you.
Exactly.
But maybe sometimes maybe people who can't see that right now, they need to get these labels in order to come to the
I think so
realization.
too. Yes.
So therefore, I think, again, like we've kind of passed that point now. Great, amazing. But there is other people, like, and I would say it's probably the majority who are not there yet. And so for them, labels will actually be helpful. But I think nevertheless, it is important to raise the awareness and to be just aware that these labels will not get you anywhere.
Exactly. And I think, I mean, that also brings us to the last point of this whole discussion. How can you actually free yourself of those, right? Okay, maybe trying to get there yourself. I think, and I see it with friends of mine that, okay, especially when it comes to studying, a lot of people that are not, that haven't studied think that they're worth less or they're not as smart as others, which is just not true. Studying doesn't prove anything to anyone, just to yourself. Yeah. Obviously, for some, for me, that like having studied something didn't bring me anywhere, like literally. It's nice to have a network and it had some basic information, but it's not that I'm smart or anything. And you see that a lot of people did not finish their school education and still accomplished a lot. However, they still think, they are not there where we are as studied people just because they didn't do it. And that doesn't necessarily mean I need to go for fame, but if these are the small things that holding me back, then maybe start with that and just convince yourself, because in the end it's like a muscle that needs to be trained, that you can do things, that you can accomplish things. So just start with small things you think that are holding you back, prove yourself, just for yourself, not to others, doesn't matter what others are saying, and then see that you can do it, but just with small steps. And then you see, okay, now I accomplished it. Is it something? No, of course you were capable of doing it in the very beginning. You just prove it to yourself. So what I can tell to others is you can do it if you really want to. You just need to put some work in it. And then once you see, okay, you can get there, I think it's easier to get rid of the label and expectations, even on the bigger scale then.
Nice. So you basically use it as a tool to get actually free of those labels. Yeah. So as a stepping stone, use it and then get rid of it.
Yeah, because like becoming famous in a sense, like movie stars, I think, obviously, yes, you could really work for it, but that's kind of hard. And mostly it has like to do with like, you can crush it down into smaller steps and other things just to prove to yourself that you could do it if you really want. And then you just realize, okay, that's also not kicking it. I have other issues that I need to work on first.
Yeah.
Before I tackle those.
I mean, now that I think about it, I probably, well, not probably, I kind of also went through the same process, right? I thought I have to, first of all, it started with university for me because people told me I'm not smart enough to study. And then I thought I have to be the best student. And I was amongst the top students then. And then I thought, okay, and now I need this label of, I need to work for a prestigious company. And so let me get that label. And as soon as I had it, or not as soon, but it took a few years, but and then I realized, okay, so I know now I can do it. So what do I actually want to do? So you're right. Actually, it's a good, it kind of helped me to get rid of it. So maybe you can, it's fair to say that labels at the end of the day will not get you, like give you long-term happiness and or fulfillment, like the real thing. Won't a label will never give that to you, but it can help you to understand that.
Yeah, definitely. So it's a tool to free yourself from, to just get rid of the labels. Definitely. No, and I think that's basically the same thing when it comes to limiting beliefs. Beliefs are like labels that you got early on, and I think just because this is something that defined you in the past, doesn't mean that it necessarily need to shape your future. So just being aware and understanding which kind of labels are holding you back. Same with the limiting beliefs, and then tackling them and just proving yourself step by step how to get out of there.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, we love speaking about the ego, right? So let's just bring it in here a little bit. The ego is basically causing the entire thing, right? Because the ego tells you, I'm not good enough, I'm not this and that, I need to achieve this and that. Exactly. So this is all driven by that. So if you actually would have your ego under control already then, which most people don't, then you could avoid chasing the next level. But if you don't, then it's a good way to get rid of it.
Yeah, definitely. And then I think it's on the same call from my side: surround yourself with people that are eager to help you on this journey, because it's way easier if people are telling you this is a stupid story you're telling yourself about yourself again, and this is not who you truly are. And people that try to, challenge you on those beliefs or labels that you're giving yourself.
Yeah.
And I also just wanted to add again what we had also in the last ego episode. I think all the labels are also causing all the problems that we have at this point in the world, with like separating us from each other. Like, okay, these are like Christians, these are Muslims, these are people that live in the Middle East, this is like black people, like so many things, just because they are labeled, or like people are labeled the way, that's causing all the issues, right? So yeah,
That's
that's why
right.
I'm saying it's a bad thing to label things, even if it helps you to put people in perspective and boxes and understand better and having faster decisions. It's causing a lot of pain in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. On a world level, for sure. I'm just thinking from like just going a little bit into the business thingy. It's basically impossible to get rid of any labels in a corporate environment. For example, in a startup environment, fine, you don't give, or well, you also have titles, but in a structured corporate environment where you start analyst, then you become associate, then you become blah blah blah, it's impossible. And that's why people chase always the next
I
thing.
don't think, I mean, I wasn't in an environment, but I think nothing is impossible. It's just a structure that was built
It's
at
a
some
structure that's
point.
built around one
So
point.
someone needs to come and say, that's, what are you doing here?
Yeah,
Like, stop that.
thank you for destroying that limiting belief immediately.
Yeah,
Like, no, you're right. It's, I mean, technically, that is the only solution for somebody to come in. But in
yeah.
reality, that's just how these organizations work at present. That might
Now,
change,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm really hoping that some people are bold enough to go in there
Yeah.
and change the way that it is. I mean, if it works and if everyone would be happy in the construct, it's fine. But there are a lot of people suffering through that, right?
Yeah.
And also why that's again a structure that just was built at some point in this field in that way from people that thought it that way. So why not just really completely changing it?
Yeah,
And if it
that's
works
right.
for startups, why shouldn't it work for huge corporates? And again, I think it's different if you judge those labels or if it's just helpful in terms of how to communicate. Obviously, it's different if I'm delivering work to a client than to my boss and to an intern. But still, it's all people in the end, and all deserve my respect and being nice to them and being supportive and stuff like that. So, it's just a different way of viewing labels in that sense. But in the same way, like in a sense, we're all the same, and we also started as interns at some point. We were all also younger, and at some parts we are the clients on the other side. So it doesn't really make sense to differentiate in that sense, in my opinion.
No, you're right. You're actually giving me a very good incentive to think about for my own business right now. um,
You're not calling your interns anymore.
no, what do I call them? Angels?
Yeah, that would
Angels,
be the
that would be
better
better.
way.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, oh God, such an interesting topic. I didn't think that, the topic would lead us to this. But there is, yeah, I mean, labels are like, how do we even conclude this?
Yeah. No, I mean, for me, I think the most important part is again being aware of them. So everyone should be aware of the labels they're giving to themselves, most important, and to others before jumping to conclusions, and being really careful of what do you think of others, in terms of if you put them in a box and then react that, because it can, or it most likely leads to self-fulfilling prophecies for this person and for yourself, and causes them issues and you issues and your relationship issues. So just try to be open-minded and always reflect on that. And then also be super careful about positive labels, because on the short term it can be super like nice for your ego especially, and it can help you and it can help others if they're labeled positive, or in a positive way. Not now, that's actually, by the way, with COVID it's a bit weird with positive labeling, but yeah, usually it's good. Just be careful about that, because in the end it's also just something you're like running towards and or chasing after, and it can be taken away from you if you're not longer successful, not longer, I don't know, having two legs, for example, and being a healthy human being. So just be careful of your attachments towards even positive labels, and try to free yourself by just taking small steps and reflecting continuously.
Very nice. I don't have anything to add to this.
Beautiful. Great.
Sweet.
So then I would say stay tuned for more topics on the ego. I think there will be different, more variations coming around that topic soon because we love to dig in that.
And it's a course for everything, really.
Yeah, it's like so interesting once you realize that, right? Once more, shout out to Eckhart Tolle. So we hope to actually get deeper in our discussion. If you have any specific questions towards ego, if you have any problems in your life that you want us to talk about, we'd love to have input always. And yeah, that's it. See you next week, guys.
Listening. Bye.
Bye.